As the Season 17 schedule reaches the halfway point, with 5 races before today and 5 races after, a 4-time champion has assumed his familiar position atop the standings. The Spanish rookie, Jaume Torres, appears to be the only driver who could deny the Australian dynasty that is Sonny Kanchan a 5th title. But today's venue is a draft track, and any driver who can hop aboard and stay aboard the lead train of cars will have a legitimate chance to win. A win most often decided coming out of the final corner. From Spa, it's time for round 6 of the MX-5 World Tour. And you can see all the simulated Mazda action from green flag to victory donuts live as it happens right here on the Global Sim Racing channel via the iRacing eSport Network. As the aroma of Belgian chocolate mixes with the smell of engine exhaust, hello and welcome to the Sim Sports News Countdown to Green. Over the next 15 minutes, GSRC will bring you all the storylines, all the stats and facts you'll need to appreciate the MWT Midpoint Season event that will immediately follow. And here to do all of that is Johan Vanderbilt, and joining yours truly, Bill Soupzon, to bring you our Words Eye View. Joe Peak has director duties, armed with cameras, provided by Dougie Beard. Okay, Johan, Spa has been on the iRacing service for many years. GSRC has broadcasted countless of events from here, but GSRC and IESN are always being discovered by new viewers. And for those who are new to the sport of sim racing, tell us a little bit about Spa.
Absolutely, Bill. Well, if there are any viewers out there that haven't heard about Spa-Francorchamps before today, strap in, as this track is the Mecca and the Santiago de Compostela for racing fans. The history of the circuit goes back all the way to 1920, when old public roads were used to create a 15-kilometer loop between the towns of Francorchamps, Malmedy and Staffelo. Now, it's almost unimaginable today, but the very first race here in 1921 was known for not being popular enough. Only one driver showed up at the event, but the decades after it surely made up. Now, that old 15-kilometer circuit saw a bunch of safety measures implemented, including one in 1979, when the length was halved to roughly the 7 kilometers we see today. But even though the asphalt changed, the spirit remained, as Spa-Francorchamps features numerous corners to be loved and feared. Now, today in a Mazda MX-5 we go maybe a little bit slower than most people are used to in Belgium. With lap times of around 3 minutes, drivers will battle in packs, trying to save fuel and not lose the draft. Now, this sounds easier than it is, as you have to be extremely precise and always be on the limit. And to see how that looks like from the driver's point of view, let's hop on board the GSRC MX-5 for a lap around Spa-Francorchamps.
Alright, we've got Amjad Yaman in the GSRC MX-5, so let's do a lap around Spa. Coming up to La Source, you've got a great place for a pass, but be wary on the first lap. This hairpin is notorious for chaos, so be careful not to throw away your race by getting tangled up in the first corner. Another important thing to consider is your exit of La Source. You're now plunging down the old pit straight towards Eau Rouge, and you should be on the power for quite a while. Get the car lined up to the right and do your best to minimize your steering input into this incredible uphill climb. Just make sure you don't get a cut course at Rodillon, or you'll be losing positions hand over fist down the Kemmel Straight. This is where things will get exciting though. The draft in these MX-5s mean you will see 2 different types of drivers. One will be looking to use the slipstream to overtake all day long, and the other will be lifting and fuel saving to outthink their opponent in the race. However, if you can't make the pass on the straight, the braking in a Lacombe offers a chance to seal the deal. Keep your head on a swivel though, because your competitor can fight back from the outside on the switchback to the left. From there, you'll swing the car through Malmedy at the highest part of the circuit. Now we fall back downhill into Ravage, and this 180-degree corner can sometimes offer a chance for a sneaky overtake. It's also got some awkward camber, making it easy to understeer. Square off the exit and switch sides quick to get the car set up for the left-hander. This is a corner that invites confidence, maybe a bit too much confidence. Try not to overshoot the exit to avoid a 1X. Now, if you look up, you can see the pit complex way down in the valley, but we won't be there anytime soon. Hold right and then gently coax the car into Pouan. Lose the rear and anyone behind you will be coming in blind and can likely plow into you. Lose the front, and thankfully, you've got a parking lot of paved runoff on the exit to save you. Still, it's important to carry your speed, because as we bring the car to the left, you're going to have some decent braking into Fagnes. This isn't that interesting of a chicane, but getting the right line is still important to your lap time. The exit, though, is not a big deal because it's a very short acceleration zone to Stavolo. After all the drop in elevation, you finally reach the lowest point of the circuit. Get the car steady and lined up so that you won't need a lift into Curve of Paul Frere. You'll need every ounce of momentum once again down the backstretch. The little bends throughout means minimizing your inputs will help your speed. Just like the Kemmel Straight, draft battles are likely to take place on this stretch. It's just a little more awkward with the way the natural line weaves you across the track. You want to get single file by Blanchimont though. Even though it's flat out in the MX-5, it's still not worth trying to go side by side. After that comes the braking for the bus stop chicane. This is your last best chance to get an overtake in. Because of the high speeds, a lot of guys fall victim to overshooting it, so even if someone's later than you on the brakes, you can still get the spot back. There's one final spot where you can rack up a 1x, so get yourself a clean exit. Hopefully, you held it all together, and as we come back to the line, we finished a lap around Spa.
That is one lap here through the Ardennes Forest Circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. Now, before we go to the points, I want to remember all the viewers that the Countdown to Green is sponsored by SimSport News. SimSport News is one of the leading sim racing news websites that covers all broadcasted series on iRacing and is run by Jacob Tufts and Lewis Emerton. Not just reporting, these people also race, as SimSports News Racing competes in many official top-level iRacing series. For more information, visit simsportnews.com.
Indeed, do that. I went and stopped into SimSports News, found it very, very educational and entertaining. All right, let's go ahead and look at the point standings. These come to you thanks to Weissenfeld as we talk about the pros. Sonny Kenshin is a four-time champion, and he has 2 wins this season, one at Bathurst, the other last round at the ring. Yami Torres also has 2 wins, the season opener at Donington and then again in round 4 at Tsukuba. Not since the former champion Evan Maillard was dominating the series has there been such a French presence. Frenchman Jean-Francois Pinot and Nicolas Berger sit 3rd and 4th, with round 2 winner Marcelo Pajan from Italy rounding out the overlay. All right, Johan, what about the AM Championship?
Yeah, the AM standings, they are sponsored by SimSport News, and like you just saw in the pros, that's really dominated by some Southern Europeans. Well, here we have to go to Northern Europe, because Björn de Vos and Stefan Veenhoff, those are the 2 names that kind of dominated this championship since the beginning of the season. The 2 Benelux drivers are only 11 points separated from each other, with Björn de Vos having a slight advantage. Behind him, Derek Holland. Yes, Holland in the name, not a Benelux driver though. The American is trying to stay close, 54 points behind at the moment. The gap is starting to form there, and behind him as well, Michael Wardman and Jean-Marie Fogu have moved into the top 5, both gaining 2 positions since the Nürburgring.
And there you go. So there's our point standings in the Pro and AM classes. Before we get to qualifying, which is underway right now, that takes a little while, let's take a quick look at the race details.
Yeah, we're in season 17 of the Mazda World Tour. Now, you already mentioned it, Bill. This is round 6 of the 11-round championship. The venues will mirror the iRacing Advanced Mazda Cup Series, and the season finale this season will be a double header. The no-drop races for the drivers, so anything that happens on the track matters. However, the drivers do get the benefit of free no-show compensations. That means that if a driver misses a race, he or she is compensated with a percentage of the driver's average race finish. The race today here at Spa-Francorchamps, however, will be 16 laps, open setups with slightly reduced fuel tanks, so they do have to make a pit stop, and there's no incident cap. However, there is a miles per incident championship, so not going off the track, which is difficult here at Spa-Francorchamps, will net you some extra points at the end of the season.
Yeah, this one is tempting because you can actually run off, you can pick up as many incidents as you want, you can actually get a little bit faster here, but it'll cost you in the standings of that miles per incident. Last thing of business here before we get to qualifying as the lapse times will start to come in. Let's take a quick look at the weather, Johan.
Yeah, and the weather is actually quite cold, to be honest here. It's surely just starting to be spring in Belgium. Only 71 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature, 22 degrees Celsius that is. It's not as cold as it was in practice earlier, Bill. We saw some temperatures of below 70 degrees Fahrenheit there, almost below 20 degrees Celsius even. So the track is starting to heat up a little. Also, the time of day is increasing. It's now 7 minutes past 9 in the sim. So I think as the session goes on, Bill, it will get warmer and warmer, and the drivers will just have to adapt to that, to those changing track conditions.
Are you enjoying this broadcast? Well, the best of the best in the iRacing World Championship, as well as many top private leagues like the one you're watching right now, are showcased right here on the iRacing Esports Network. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you subscribe. GSRC is proud to be part of the IESN stable of broadcasters. All the business is out of the way, and now we can turn our attention to what's going on track. There is the man sitting in second in points, the Spaniard, Jaume Torres. He has a couple wins so far this season. Looking to see if he can close a little bit the gap on Spa-Francorchamps.
Yeah, but this is really one of the tracks where it is difficult to say if you'll actually be able to close down the gap, because racing here is so much a gamble in many ways, Bill. It is a very strong draft track. So like you said already in the lead-up before, if you can just stay with that battle, and especially if your pit stop is quick enough to stay in that lead group as well after the pit stops, you always have a shot at victory here. Having a shot at victory as well, I think, is Yannick Quintaillet. We see him on track at the moment. He is our professional pole sitter with a 2:48.0. Quite an okay lap time from him. Around 0.4 of a second slower than he was in practice, but he will have one more lap to go to see where he ends up. He's currently 0.02 of a second in front of Stefan van Opstal. Damascus Torres just comes across the line. He only goes P3, however, 0.07 of a second, slower than Quintaillet. And we still have to wait for Spa-Francorchamps when he comes over the line with his first lap time.
Qualifying at some tracks very important, at other tracks maybe not so much. So here you just want to be anywhere close to the front couple rows, get in that front train. The trick is not to lose the draft. As we look at the French driver Jean-François Pignol, doing very well this season, sitting well up in the points, sitting in third.
You're absolutely right with what you say, Bill, that qualifying maybe here compared to other tracks is not as important because it's such a big draft track, because it's easy to overtake on long straights where Jean-François at the moment is, for example. But at the same time, it is important for these drivers, however. Getting that qualifying time, getting the pole position time will give a psychological advantage, if you want to call it like that.
Yeah.
Just to show that you're a little bit better than those rivals you're battling with in the championship.
Field big enough to be entertaining with about 15 drivers signing up. Relatively small in terms of MWT standards. There's the Frenchman working around. He's sitting in fourth right now. All right, here's your four-time champion and points leader, Spa-Francorchamps, coming off a win just a few hours ago in the Advanced Mazda Cup. They race the night before. He picked up the win right here, and of course the schedules mirror each other, so it was basically much the exact same race. 45 minutes with a pit stop. How it played out, well, I'm not going to... I told you already, spoiler alert, Sonny gets the win, but it's worth watching. It was an exciting event.
Very interesting to see, by the way, is that Spa-Francorchamps has messed up his first lap time. So he had got an off track in his first lap time. This lap time will decide where he will end up on the grid if he didn't make another mistake. As he comes across the start-finish line, didn't make a mistake. It is a 2:47.8. And look at that, he's continuing where he left off last time. He's 0.2 quicker than Yannick Quintaillet, but Yannick Quintaillet immediately goes quicker than him by 0.07 of a second. It means that the Benelux driver now is on professional pole position. And let's go to Damascus Torres, because he is now going through Blanchimont. He has 2 more corners to go. Well, 3 more corners if you take the little right kink that he's currently in now into account. Where will Damascus Torres end up? He is currently sitting in P4, around 2.5 of a second behind Spa-Francorchamps, 0.3 of a second behind the pole sitter Yannick Quintaillet. He's not really choosing the optimal line there, going back to the racing line, and that might have hurt him a little bit. He wins 1 position, overtakes Stefan van Opstal, but Jaume Damascus Torres, Bill, stays on the second row of the grid.
Yeah, but what that does tell me is Quintaillet has a legitimate shot to win this thing. With that pace, he'll be up there. He can go ahead and play it how he wants. He can be up front. He can try to snake it at the end. Something to keep an eye on. Spoiler alert, I'm going to talk a little bit about last night's race that just went on between well, I'll tell you this one. Sonny Kenshin got the win. Cover your ears for about 20 seconds if you don't want to know the results. Interesting, in the interview with Sonny Kenshin, he credited Amjad Yaman for teaching him how to get the win. He went back to season 12. He said Amjad, they were coming nosed side by side into the bus stop, and Amjad Yaman took the right-hand side, and he got the win. And Sonny said, I learned from that one, so that's what he did in that final race, and they had the momentum coming out. All right, that was last night. Let's go to right now as we go to the grid. On the front row, it is indeed the Frenchman, Gianni Quintelier. Sonny Kenshin is going to be outside of him. Jaume Torres is in the third position. Steven Van Opsel there. Frank Pignot in the fifth spot. Christophe Sanchez in sixth. Seventh and eighth go to Nicholas Berger and Derek Holland.
Derek Holland with that gets pole position in the M class. Behind him it's Michael Wardman on P9. Björn de Vos just inside the top 10 in 10th position. Jeroen Oersem slots in P11 and he shares row 6 with Jean-Marie Fourgou. Row behind them it's Maurice Wirtz. He starts just in front of Robert Wielinga and Clifford Eben. That was one of the drivers with a really good practice time. Didn't set a qualifying time. He starts from P15.
And I might have misspoke when I credited Quintelier with a French nationality there. I don't believe that is the case. I think he might be... It might be Belgium, perhaps, or maybe the Netherlands. Johan, I'm not sure. I know it's not.
He's from the no, he's from the Benelux. I think that he's Dutch, but his last name you would almost say that he's from Wallonia.
As we go through the two columns of cars, you can see the puffy clouds pushing down on the track here in Spa. 45 minutes of racing on tap. Dead center in the middle of season 17. 5 races before, 5 races after this one. Our pole sitter, Gianni Quintelier, up in front. Sonny Kenshin in second. The engines begin to rev. You know what to do. Gather up the chicken steak, covering on the cows. The horses are out of the barn, and it is indeed Gianni Quintelier leading the stampede down into La Source. He gets there comfortably, tucking into that yellow car. That's Torres looking to see if he can get to the inside of Kenshin. They come out side by side, and Torres will have the advantage, Kenshin with a little momentum. Sonny weaving back and forth like a loom. Careful, Sonny, as he tries to fend off Steven Van Opstel. Steven must be a little bit worried there.
I think the weather conditions are quite cold for Sonny Kenshin. He's maybe trying to heat up the tires because there was a weaving on the run down towards Arus. He stays behind Damas Astorius, who actually took a little bit of risk going into La Source to get that P2 position. Immediately trying to make the overtake on Gianni Quintelier as they come across Camel Straight. And this, viewers, this is something that we'll see a lot today. Several overtakes on the straight as Quintelier and Sonny Kenshin make contact with each other. Quintelier hard into the wall. Let's see what happens with Sonny Kenshin. It doesn't look like the Australian has too much damage there. But Sonny Kenshin trying to follow in the draft or something of Damas Astorius and just move to the right into Quintelier, it seemed like.
I put the hammer in the oven because the camel has learned to read. I do not understand what I just saw. That is not catching like at all. We're going to come up. We'll take another look at that one later. It's almost as if Sonny forgot that there was a car to his right-hand side. Well, Torres out in front.
There's one retiree overtaking the back of the field. Clifford Eben is trying to make moves up the field. He didn't set a qualifying time, but he's making moves on the circuit. Well, that's of course where the points are decided. He's making overtakes. Just got by Derek Holland, putting some pressure on Sonny Kenshin. Now Sonny Kenshin is right in the amateur field at the moment, behind Clifford Eben and Björn de Vos. He really is down the order. But up front it's Damas Astorius. He's followed by Stefan van Opstal. And with all the commotion that happened up front, Nicholas Berger has moved up to a podium position. He's P3.
Yeah, there really is a logjam behind Kenshin right now. Eben back there in ninth trying to get around. Holland, Ursum as well. Kenshin's car is off pace. He will not have any straight line speed and will be gobbled up.
Some moves we might see for P3 at the moment as Spa-Francorchamps looks very feisty. Very close, as you can see there as we look backwards from the car of Nicholas Berger as they go through Blanchimont. cars that look quite similar. At the same time, Stefan Van Opstal is very close to Jaume Torres, but he just decides the better of it. You can see all these cars under braking for the bus-stop chicane just bunch up together. However, no overtakes. These drivers know how the game will be played, and that there's still a whopping 15 laps to go. Very long distance to go here at Spa-Francorchamps.
All right, we're going to go ahead and look at the first lap replay that caught Cancian and Quintelier up in an incident. You'll see Torres out in front as he makes the pass on Quintelier. And Cancian follows him through, and then from there, Cancian just kind of comes across him. Johan?
It seems like that. It seems like Sonny Cancian was trying to follow Torres and just stay in the draft of the Spaniard, and maybe he didn't hear a spotter say all clear, or he heard a spotter say all clear and just went to the right with just not realizing that Quintelier is still there. And I have to say, it's just heartbreak for the Benelux driver who, well, with the lack of Zandvoort on the calendar, was driving as a home race this season. Getting pole position, was looking very strong for a good result here, but sees everything end up in the barriers just not even before the reach the Lacoon chicane. Very early over for Quintelier.
Well, we just came back to live. You saw Nicholas Berger shoot through the middle, and we have a new leader now, but here is Jaume Torres working on him. Yeah, your heart goes out to Quintelier. You put yourself on the pole, you got to figure that's one of the advantages to having that pole position. At least you're out of the chaos behind you, but boy, he got caught up in it while it was in second position. Torres gets the spot back, Berger now in second.
Yeah, but that's one of the interesting things about Spa-Francorchamps, especially in the MX-5. Normally, if you qualify on pole position on the track, you know that this is probably the safest position to be. I only have people behind me. But you know that the draft, especially over Camel Straight, is so strong on this track that if you qualify pole position and you're the first driver on top of Radion, you'll have 2 free cars just streaking by before you reach the next chicane. And that's what happened with Quintelier, and unfortunately for him, he was caught up in an incident with, I don't think he had any blame in. That was just a shame for Quintelier that it retired so early. But like we said, the racing is still going on. We're on lap 2, almost lap 3, with Jaume Torres on the lead. And one thing that is interesting to see, Bill, is that Jaume doesn't really want to be in second. He fought very hard with Nicholas Berger when Nicholas Berger tried to go past him. Is that smart thing by Jaume? Because by just being in the front all the time, you will burn a lot more fuel than your rivals, and that will hurt you in your pit stop.
The front 6 are kind of behaving right now as they fan out a little bit as I say that. Let's quickly go back to 8th position. We're going to leave those leaders, assume they get through the bus stop okay. Look at this little battle here between De Forge and Derek Holland. Derek Holland chasing back there in 9th, looking to get up to De Forge. Watching on is Jerome Ursum. And Johan, I got to tell you this because Jerome would want to hear this here. Jerome Ursum, just on that last lap, passed Sonny Cancian. That's something I don't know if I've ever said before.
Good stuff, and the great stuff for Jeroen Ursum as well is that he at the moment is fighting for a podium position in the amateur championship, because Björn De Vos at the moment is P3 in that class. Derek Holland is trying to fight for him. Jeroen Ursum is trying to eat some popcorn, just stay behind, stay in the draft if they go through Aarhus and see what happens in front of him. Now the battle for leaders, we might follow Björn De Vos. I think he will be overtaken by Derek Holland now as he reaches the top of Radion. Or as we go to the lead at the moment for a battle, for an overtake. You can see Nicholas Berger getting by there. You can see Damascus Torres. This is what I meant. If you're in front as they go through Radion, you're just a sitting duck there. 3 cars stream by, and who will get the lead? Geoffrey Penel was sliding a little bit on the inside there of Nicholas Berger. He has to settle for P2, and it is Stefan Van Opstal just between him and Torres in P3.
So you have the 2 French teammates out there, Berger and Pinot, running 1-2. You saw Pinot come from 4th position, actually had visions of getting to the lead. Got to give a quick tip of the hat here to a couple drivers. Michael Workman was able to hang on in 6th position. I thought he was the caboose of this train, but able to run these guys down from way back was number 55 of Clifford Eben. Eben on a roll here.
Yeah, and Clifford Eben is really the hard charger of today here at Spa-Francorchamps. Started at P15, the only driver without a qualifying time. In the meantime, he has fought his way up to P7 and P2 in the M category. If he overtakes the car from Michael Workman, he will go from last to first within 4 laps in the race. That's extremely good racing from Clifford Eben there. But the fact that these two drivers are still with that lead pack of 5 pro drivers will really help them just to distantiate themselves from Björn de Vos, Derek Holland and Jeroen Oersen behind.
Look at that battle. I can just tell you that Jean-Marie Fergoux was able to get around Sonny Ketchen. Ketchen is slowly beginning to fall here. Can we go back to 12th position? This is Robert Vingelinge making a move on him as well, and I think he'll get him, as will Maurice Wirtz soon enough.
And Sonny Ketchen is struggling with quite a bit of damage on the right front of his car, of course, because of the incident with Quintaillet. When I saw everything happen in the crash between the two drivers, Bill, I didn't expect Sonny Ketchen to be struggling with this amount of damage. It's way heavier than I thought it would, because he cannot even follow other cars in the draft. So I think that Sonny Ketchen at the moment is just counting. Ooh, there's a little bit of contact in front of him. Robert Wieliga just runs into the back of Jean-Marie Fergoux. I don't think there's a lot of damage between these two drivers as Robert Wieliga gets very loose on the exit of the bus stop chicane. But like I said, I think that Sonny Ketchen at this moment is just looking at his fuel. When is the earliest that I can come in for my pit stop and also repair my car? Because at the moment he's doing 2:51. Oh! As he has contact with Robert Wieliga there.
Yeah. That would looks like Wieliga was out on the grass. He got his left side tires on the grass, and when he came to pull in, the car just turned in on Sonny stopped him from hitting the inside wall.
Yeah, it was not that Robert Wieliga missed his braking point. It was just wrong positioning from the Dutch driver, putting his wheels on the grass and that's spinning around. You can see it there from on board with Sonny Ketchen. He is an unlucky victim there because there was nothing that he could do. He gave way enough space to Robert Wieliga. Robert Wieliga immediately throws the towel in the ring. Is our second retiree of today. Just quickly finish.
Oh, the Frenchman has had trouble. He got together. I think he got together with his teammate.
Yeah, he absolutely did. That was in Lacombe. He got first. He got a look at this. This is free wide in lap 4-5. This is way too early in the race, you would imagine. But he put a lot of risk there with Jaume Torres and Nicolas Berger. Now, that spins him around. But look at the car behind him. It's Clifford Eben, I think, who just cannot avoid him. Plows into his rear. That's quite a bit of damage for Jean-François Pernod.
What happens on this is Torres makes the move to the inside, and all of a sudden it becomes 3 wide. And Berger was scared to go too far in because he was worried about getting into Torres, and he didn't leave his teammate enough room on the outside.
Just to reiterate on what just happened, it was not Eben who had contact with him. It was Christophe Sanchez, who has incredible damage and is also currently sitting in the pits trying to repair that damage. So they're falling like flies at the moment. We started with 15 drivers. We're currently down to 11.
3 cars up front now in the lead train. Stefan Van Opstel is your leader. The fastest of this bunch maybe is Torres, although Van Opstel was pretty good in qualifying as well. Don't want to give him not the credit he deserves. Berger back in 3rd.
And this is very interesting though, because these 3 drivers, they are top pro drivers at the moment. Now, to be honest, Bill, before we started this broadcast, I would have written down Torres as one of the potential winners here today, but I wouldn't have written down Berger or Van Opstel as potential winners. But as it stands at the moment, I think that Berger and Van Opstel will be locks for a podium position as long as no crashes happen between these two drivers. And in just a 3-car train, anything can happen. So we might have a surprising winner here in the form of Nicolas Berger or Stefan Van Opstel today at Spa.
Okay, now the gap between Berger in 3rd back to Eben in 4th is about 3.5 seconds. Let me be more precise. You can see right on your screen there, 3.5 right now. So we'll see if Eben can drive up like he did to catch that lead pack before. He lost the train. We had to get out of that when there was that contact. He had to back out of it. We'll see if he can drive that. In fact, he's going to lose a position right now. This may actually be a good thing, as this might be dancing as the force goes around.
And I think that it will be interesting to see what Clifford Eben will do now pace-wise. In practice, we mentioned it before, he was very strong. He actually was P3 in practice just after Sonny Ketchen and Damascus Torres. He was incredibly quick, but we were doubting, is that actual pace of Eben or is that a draft that he got in his quick lap time, and he just won a lot of time that way. Now we can see as he's fighting or maybe working together with Björn de Vos, if that is actual pace, and if those two can work together in its actual pace, I wouldn't be surprised to see Clifford Eben, Björn de Vos just work their way to the top 3 of the field.
Yeah, what I saw Eben do, run up and catch the leaders pretty much all on his own, that's a definite possibility as he works together with de Vos right now. They continue to leapfrog their way, try to get to the leaders up front.
A little bit of damage, however, though, on the front of Clifford Eben, that might hurt his straight line speed a little bit, but as long as he's staying close with the likes of Björn de Vos, they can work together. See a little bit of bumping going on there. Just, come on, Björn de Vos, get some extra speed here. It is your home GP, show what you can do. It gives Björn de Vos a little bit of extra speed as they go towards the Spa-Francorchamps.
A little difference in the rule packages between this race and the race we broadcast last night. There was an incident cap on that one. There is not one here. There is the miles per incident award, and you'll move down the standings a little bit, cost you a few points. But here you can bump draft all you want. You don't have to worry about getting disqualified. Unfortunately, that gap between third and fourth, which was 3.5 when I mentioned it, is now 5. So try as these guys might, they're not getting there.
But just let's not write anything in ink yet, because there's still more than 10 laps to go, and we could see, Bill, that a lot of things have happened. We still have 3 pro drivers together, but the last few times that we saw 3 pro drivers very close together, that ended up in tears. And if anything happens between these 3 drivers, we will see an amateur driver on the overall podium, and that's a surprising result that I didn't expect before this race started.
You know, Johan, we've covered enough of these draft races where we get a feel for how it plays out. The front train is usually very well behaved. The excitement is usually in the mid-pack. That was not the case today, as those guys up front were racing, in my opinion, way harder than they needed to so early on.
Yeah, that's really interesting that it happened, because you know it's going to be a very long race here at Spa. You know that the draft is going to play a huge factor, and it doesn't really matter if you're P8 or P1 at the beginning of a stint like that, as long as you don't lose the draft. But some of the drivers just gave it everything they could, trying to be out in front in lap 1, or trying to go free wide into the Lacoon chicane on lap 3, and you could just see that it ended in tears and ended the races of several drivers. I don't know exactly what happened there. Maybe it would be interesting to talk with some of the drivers in an interview and ask what kind of mindset they had going into this race, because that's not something that you would have expected the drivers to do going into a long draft event like we have here today at Spa.
And right now we're on the best battle going on, because the front 3 have, I guess they've learned from watching what went on around them, because Van Opstel, Torres, and Berger pretty much are just racing in a line. And it's not like they're going anywhere. If a pass is made, nobody's driving away. That's a little more fun back here. These guys are shaking it up a bit.
Yeah, let's put some names on the faces at the moment. Out in front of this battle, it is Björn de Vos. Behind him, it's Clifford Eben with a little bit of damage, the driver that fought his way forward all those places. Derek Holland is currently the 3rd one in this pack. He's sitting P3 in the M class. Behind him, Jeroen Ursum is just trying to stay on. The interesting thing, however, is that Jeroen Ursum closed down the gap to these few drivers. A few laps ago, 1 or 2 laps ago, the gap between him and Derek Holland was around 1 second. He has closed the gap, however. You can see there's less than a car length between himself and Holland now. So it's good to see that Jeroen Ursum has the pace here at Spa to really fight for a podium position in the M class.
For many event, Jeroen Ursum was the answer to the trivia question, which driver has raced in the most MWT events without a top 10? It was Jeroen Ursum. He was able to get that a few seasons ago. Could we see a top 5 for Ursum? Boy, that would be a fan favorite.
He's certainly doing everything that he needs to do at the moment, which is staying in P4, saving fuel, wait for the pit stops, and then strike. So he's doing everything that he can at the moment. Let's see where it ends up. Now, the viewers are seeing that it's getting lighter and lighter out track. The sun is breaking through the cover. However, the track temperature actually has decreased a little bit. It's only 19 degrees Celsius at the moment. So it's cooler as it was cooler than it was in qualifying. It is as cool as it was in practice. That will help the drivers just get a little bit of extra grip out there as you try to put your MX-5s to the limit. Behind this battle, however, we can see that Michael Wortman, who's currently driving P8 overall, he's falling a little bit by the wayside. He did a 50.7 last time around. Jeroen Oersum in comparison a 48.6. So Michael Wortman at the moment losing around 2 seconds per lap to the top 4 in the M class. He cannot keep up, and at the same time he's being caught by Spa-Francorchamps behind him, who's around a second per lap quicker.
The pit window has opened up, and Sonny Kanchan is going to take advantage of that. His heat comes in, tries to get a little bit of repair done on his car. Let's go back to Ursum. I think he's in the mood. He's going to pass 1 car. Jeroen is going to pass 2 cars. Jeroen is on the outside. He's going to pass 3 cars. Can he get it done? He's going to see if he can stick it in there. Yes, he does. One of the greatest... Oh, careful, Jeroen. He gets it on the grass, but he gets it done. A great job of racecraft from Jeroen Ursum.
Oh, very close between Clifford Appen and Björn de Vos. There's Björn de Vos took too much speed on the apex, almost understeered into the car of Clifford Appen. They avoided each other, and Jeroen Oersum, who comes out in the lead now at the moment in the M Championship. Great overtake from him, but I think we have to retract what we said a few laps ago, Bill, that these drivers are taking it easy at the moment, because that was a very daring overtake from Jeroen Oersum, who now grabs the lead there. In the meantime, we just had some contact a few moments ago between Spa-Francorchamps and I think it was Maurice Wirtz at the same time that was going into the bus stop chicane last time around. Quite a heavy hit on the rear of Spa-Francorchamps, who might have suffered a little bit of damage because of that. They're both still continuing as we see going side by side into the P5 chicane. Jeroen Oersum and Clifford Appen. Clifford Appen is not happy with where he is at the moment. He wants to get that P1 position back in the M category. He's putting it side by side in the P5 chicane. That's not a place where you see a lot of overtakes. You would almost say, Bill, that that's the point where you set yourself up for an overtake out of Stavelo here, going towards Blanchimont on the bus stop.
Give a little warning to Jeroen Ursum. He's given up the reins of series manager. So, Jeroen, they're not going to treat you with the same respect that you had before. Careful now. You're no longer the series organizer. Let's see what Cliff Evan does as he gets up right behind him.
He's haunting Jeroen Ursum. He's looking left and right as they go towards Blanchimont, but this Björn de Vos with the best run out of that corner. He overtakes on the outside Clifford Appen, tries to make it a 2-for-1 as they reach the bus stop chicane. Jeroen Ursum gives him a lot of space, but he actually goes to the pits. He's the first one who blinks with 9 laps to go. Behind them, Derek Holland is going to join the fun. 2 cars in the pits.
Couple of veterans coming in. Want to follow up a little bit on the point standings. When you think of Sonny Kanchan, if you're new to the series, you might be thinking, okay, he's your point leader, but he got into trouble. He's going to finish down the order, but at least the grid is small. He'll come home with 12th. He'll still get legitimate points. That's not the way it works here. These are ration points. 100 points for the winner, 25 points for the driver in last place. And then they ration it out between them. So Sonny is not going to have a great points day, even though the field is small.
Another driver coming in from a pit stop is Spa-Francorchamps. He just wants to repair his car a little bit after he had that contact with Maurice Wirtz a few laps ago. In the meantime, Jeroen Oersum and Derek Holland are coming out of the pits. Basically the order they came into the pits, also the same distance between the 2 drivers. Interestingly enough, I have to say, I would have imagined Sonny Kanchan to come in for his pit stop as well. He's, however, opting to stay out for another lap, probably going...
No, he did his one. He came into the very beginning of the window.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I must have missed that. That explains why he was a little bit further behind. So good to see that he has done his pit stop. However, you can see that Spa-Francorchamps is still way in front compared to Sonny Kanchan. I think around 7-8 seconds between the 2 drivers. Maybe a little bit more even. Sonny Kanchan, with the damage that he suffered from the beginning of the race, just cannot close down the gap to the rivals in front.
Let's go up front for a minute and talk about strategy. I'm not sure that I would want to be up in front right now. Van Ofstrel, if he decides to make his pit stop, there's a chance that Torres and Berger might decide to stay out and run a few laps together. If Van Ofstrel decides to stay out, there's a chance that Torres and Berger could come in and try to team up. I think I'd kind of like to be maybe in second so I could not have to be the guy to make the decision.
Yeah, absolutely right. But at the same time, if you are going into the pits and the driver in front also goes into the pits, you always have a little bit of a deficit that you won't be able to make up so well in your pit stop when you're coming out. So you always want to be the lead car coming in for the pit stop. but you have to make sure that the two people behind think the same as you do and blink at the same time. Now, I have to say, if I had to put my money on one of these three drivers at the moment, it probably would be Nicolas Berger, because he's the driver that kind of has stayed back a little bit in the last few laps, just staying in P3 and at the same time saving some fuel. And I think that might help Nicolas Berger to at least stay with the lead pack once he makes his pit stop.
Nobody bites there. So now we have an interesting race that is split up. Okay, here they come, and this is it. Evan comes in and DeForce come in for a pit stop. Now, they were in the same battle with Ursum and Holland, and I think they decided to get this stop out of the way, and we can see if we can get back together with a 4-car battle.
And it will be interesting to see where Jeroen Ursum and Holland will come out, because I can see on track Jeroen Ursum and Derek Holland are working together to give each other a tow, win a little bit of extra speed as they run through Blanchimont at the moment, are braking for the bus stop chicane. Clifford Eben and Björn de Vos are both standing still at the moment. Some other cars are in as well. Those are Maurice Wirtz and Michael Wardman. Jeroen Ursum and Derek Holland are coming over the start-finish straight. Clifford Abbott is going and Björn de Vos is going as well. I think that Björn de Vos has lost a little bit of time there, because look at that, he loses around 5-6 car lengths. In the meantime, Jeroen Ursum and Derek Holland are coming over the La Source hairpin at the moment. They are behind, but they have a little bit more speed now, Bill, as they run down towards Eau Rouge.
Boy, that's one of the most important hot laps in Jeroen Ursum's MWT career. He's going to lose a bit. He's about 2 seconds behind DeForce now. They're going to have to hustle to get there.
Yeah, and I think that Derek Holland is going to be Jeroen Ursum's best friend, because he now has more momentum and might be a stepping stone to really push this pack together again, all 4 cars. At the moment, the gap between Holland and Björn de Vos is a little bit too big, I think. They have to really win some time under braking or just continue working together to have a shot at the win in the AM Championship, because at the moment you would almost fear, Bill, that Björn de Vos and Clifford Eben are breaking away.
The gap 1.7, so they picked up a little bit. Here's the advantage to Holland and Ursum. They know each other. They know what they need to do. Now, DeForce has been around in the series for a long time, but Evan is a new driver. He may not understand that working with DeForce is important right now, as those guys try to gain the gap, catch up. Meanwhile, our leaders are still out there. Very interesting strategy going on. There is Ursum and Holland, or Holland and Ursum, to be more precise.
Yeah, let's see. The gap between them and Björn de Vos is around 2 seconds, 2.1 seconds at the moment. Let's see where it is a few moments from now. Now let's go back to the lead, as you mentioned. They are coming across the bus stop chicane. Are they coming in for the pit stop now? It's Thomas Astores who will have the first opportunity to say yes, and he's saying no. He just goes on for another lap, as does Van Upstal, as does Berger. All of them just opting out to stay on track another lap.
That surprised me a little bit, because Torres made the pass to get to the front. I was figuring that he did that probably because he wanted to come in. He's going to stay out there for a bit.
And let's put the camera on P4 at the moment, Jean-Marie Fourgou, because he is the leader of the M class at the moment. Reason that is the case is because he still has to make a pit stop. But he is the leader for a little bit at the moment, as he doesn't come in for his pit stop yet. He tries to do another lap, although I fear, Bill, that once he makes his pit stop, he will fall down the order, probably to around P9, P10, where Michael Wardman and Maurice Wirtz are at the moment.
Yeah. The gap between DeForce and Holland now 1.6 seconds. They're coming. They're trying. Jeroen has lost a little bit of touch, though, with Holland. He's got to get back up there and help him.
Yeah, but the good news for Jeroen Ursum that he's close enough to Derek Holland. Oh.
Let's go to Pinot. Got into it with Wirtz. This is on the front straight.
These two drivers were very close. Jean-Francois Pinot trying to make the move there on the exit of the bus stop chicane. You can see that Pinot just had a little bit more speed at the moment, as Wirtz slightly overshot himself in the chicane. Trying to make a move here on the exit, just going around the outside, but there was no space. Maybe trying to force a move there that wasn't there, seeing a gap that was not completely there. Getting into the back of Maurice Wirtz, spinning both of them around, hard into the wall. I think that the race for both of them is over. Both in the pits at the moment with heavy damage.
Bathurst coming here to Belgium, as the attrition has been severe. Okay, Van Oftral back out in front as he made the pass on Torres.
Yeah, and I think that's a sign that Stefan van Opsel will come in for his pit stop very soon. Now, quick update. Let's go to P5 really quickly, because Björn de Vos has overtaken Clifford Eben. Björn de Vos probably saw Derek Holland in his rearview mirror getting closer and closer and was thinking, no, I don't want that. I want to get away from Derek Holland as soon as possible. So he got by him, but you can see Derek Holland, he has closed down the gap. He is less than a second away from the lead pack. However, Jeroen Oersum, he cannot follow suit at the moment. He's around 1.5 seconds behind Derek Holland in front. He has to really put the hammer down to try and close down the gap to the lead drivers.
Holland gets there, so Oersum has to hope that De Vos, Eben, and Holland start to play a little, mix it up, slow their lap times down, and he can get back in the pit.
The leaders are pitting, and I see a... Is that a blown engine from Nicolas Berger? I think that's a blown engine from Nicolas Berger. Yes, Nicolas Berger is out of the race.
Right as he came into pit lane.
Just shifting down the order. I saw some smoke and I thought, did he lock up his tires? But all the smoke originated from the middle of his car.
Give it a listen.
And that's a heartbreak for the Frenchman, because he set himself up perfectly to go for a win here today. He saved fuel the whole race long.
Yep.
With that, he throws away every opportunity that he has. Well, as we go to Damascus Torres, he doesn't come out in the lead. It's Stefan van Opstel who comes out around a second in front of the Spaniard. However, I think that Damascus Torres will not have a lot of difficulty closing down that gap. So these two drivers will be fighting for the lead between the two of them. That does mean, however, Bill, that Björn de Vos, our leader in the M category, is currently sitting on an overall podium position.
That does move that battle, that second battle that we've been watching between De Vos, Eben, Holland, and perhaps Oersum, if he can get going, a battle for a podium. And let's go to that right now, as you can look at this battle for third. It's bump drafting, now making a move, weaving back and forth. That is Holland looking for somewhere to go. And the gap from Holland to Oersum now is down to a second. Oersum might be close enough to be in the tow here. He might get into this.
I think that this lap will be no, not even that. He has completely caught up in the braking zone. Great job from Jeroen Oersum there to just keep his head down and just close down that gap. Don't make any mistakes. And man, these four drivers will go for a podium position here at Spa-Francorchamps. I don't think that any of them had thought that before the race started, but wow, they surely have some stakes now in the final 6 laps of the race.
What this attrition does, though, and I hate to go back to Sonny Kancha, but what it does is lets him vulture a few more positions, and these are points in a close championship race that could happen here. Your championship could be decided because Berger blew an engine. That's what staying out there and keep running these laps.
Yeah, that's the mentality of a champion, to be honest. Even if things go wrong in lap 1, just staying out there, do your laps and try to get the maximum every single time. And the fact that Sonny Kenshin is still out there turning his laps, even though he's only P9 out there, he's by far the slowest with the damage that he has. That just shows how much of a winner's mentality he has, and he really wants to go for another championship. Okay,
we have a segment that is paid for that we have to do because it's paid for. It's the Trips Back Marker Shoutout. You don't have to go that far back. Good luck on this one, Johan. Let's see what you can do. Well, let's start with P9. Sonny Kenshin, now that's not a name that you think you would start with at the back marker shoutout, but he is our back marker at the moment, driving in P9 after that heavy contact in lap 1, trying to recover this race, get as much points as possible. In front of him, it's Michael Wardman. A little bit of a lonely race for him. He's currently P5 in the M category, P9 overall, trying to close down the gap to Jeroen Oersum. He's the driver that is in front, P8 overall. He's P4 in the M class, but those few drivers are very close at the moment. P6 overall, sorry for that. My thing didn't update yet. Derek Holland is just in front of him, but I don't think that he will be P5 for long because he's in a heavy battle with Clifford Abbott,
who's trying to get the lead away from Björn de Vos. These 4 drivers will be switching it all until the end of the race. Björn de Vos currently sitting in P3. Now let's quickly do the final 2 drivers. Those are Damascus Torres, who's currently in P2, 7 tenths behind of a second to Stefan van Opstal. And those are all your drivers. Today, Trips backmarker shout out.
That might be the first time we've done a backmarker shout out that got us all the way up to the lead. Hey, let's go back to 3rd position right now. They are side by side. Things are heating up. Evan's going to make a move on the outside. He's going to bring Holland with him. Ursum back there watching the whole thing, waiting for the mistake. Holland backs out. Evan on the outside, now on the preferred position on the inside. They continue to be Cialis bathtubs as they head down to Rivage.
It is difficult, though, at this point in the race, because what do you want to do as a driver? You want to not risk everything and throw your race away in a move that will not gain you anything 5 laps before the end of the race, but at the same time, you want to have experience for that final lap. What works? What doesn't work? Where can I break the absolute latest to really make an overtake on the outside, for example, stick? So do you actually involve yourself in these battles that you see in front of them, or just do you stay in that P4 position in that train, just wait and see what happens in front of you? It is a very difficult decision to make.
Well, we continue to look at this battle. I can tell you that Torres is gathering up an Opstal. He's got it down to under a second.
I have to say, that's impressive pace from Stefan van Opstal, though, because the gap between him and Torres is still 8 tenths of a second. That is a tenth more than it was during the backmarker shoutout. So Stefan van Opstal, even though Torres is in his draft, is not getting caught yet by the Spaniard.
More jockeying going on back in 3rd position. De Vos now being passed by Evan. Holland looking on, seeing if he can find a spot to put the car. We're going to head down to the bus stop. Don't need to do this too wide through here. Let's get it sorted out. You still have 5 laps of racing to go, and they do. Let's go ahead and stay on this, and we'll show you where the finish line is. They come out of the bus stop now. What you'll see is the first line. That's not the finish line. First solid line right there. That's not it. It's right here. The heavy line. The one with the checkers on it.
Yeah, there's a little marshal stand on the left from this, basically from this view on the left on the pit wall. And that's really the indicator where the start-finish line is if you cannot see the line yourself from the angle. The drivers will be trying to figure out what is the best line on the exit of that best stop chicane, because you mentioned the race last night, Bill. A lot of races here at Spa-Francorchamps will not be solved by how you enter the bus stop chicane. It will be how you exit the bus stop chicane, because usually you go side by side towards the start-finish straight.
Yeah, if you stay to the right going into the bus stop, you'll have the preferred position. Then you'll have the momentum coming out of it, and sometimes that momentum is enough to get you the win. That's how it worked last night. Of course, neither one of these drivers, Van Opstal or Torres, were in that event, but I'm sure they watched it.
A quick update to the lead, because I think that Damascus Torres has caught Stefan van Opstal in such a way that I think Stefan van Opstal knows now that the battle is on for the lead. The gap between those 2 drivers for the overall lead is down to 4 tenths of a second as they reach Pouhon. I think that Damascus Torres will be starting to put some moves on, but he also knows that it's 4 laps to go, and the position that he is in, he can just basically stay where he is at the moment and just use the draft maybe on the final straight of the race, Bill, to try and get his way by Stefan van Opstal.
Yeah, what would be a game of chess if it were a 4 or 5 car battle has really turned into a game of checkers when there's only 2 of you. A little easier to figure out. Shout out to drivers like Trip Smith and Joe McDonald, who are notorious for sitting back there racing with Jeroen Ursum for about 19th or 20th position. You guys missed this race. You could have been up here having a chance for a top 5. We missed you.
And that's a good thing about this battle. It's kind of like a horror story. One of these drivers will not finish in the top 5 if they don't crash out. And who will it be? All of these drivers will have an amazing finishing position here at Spa, as Clifford Abbott tries to get the lead once again from Björn de Vos, and Derek Holland tries to go with him. Tries to make it a double move here at Blanchimont on the inside. You can see Björn de Vos braking slightly on the outside. A little bit loose. Derek Holland was there on the apex of the corner, and that loses him momentum. So Björn de Vos can go back to P2. Still side by side as they go braking for the best of chicane. And he keeps his nose in there. This will lose him a little bit of time to Clifford Eben in front. On the exit, I think Derek Holland has sealed the deal here.
There's an example where the left side of the track going into the bus stop worked out well as Holland gets the nod there as he was able to get a good drive off. DeForce will get it though going through the source unless we do a little over and under, and I think we do. These guys have to be careful that they don't lose touch with Eben. Eben is fast. He had a horrible qualifying time, but he's, in fact, he had no qualifying time. But he's faster than these guys right here. He might be able to race away from these guys, but they're not careful.
1.3 seconds there is between Clifford Eben and Derek Holland at the moment. Now, that gap has to increase to around 7-8 tenths of a second as they reach Lecombe. I think so until they're reasonably in the draft again and they don't have to worry about losing it. You can see that Clifford Eben is actually trying to drive a different line out to give Derek Holland a little bit of extra draft instead of Björn de Vos on the inside to have the momentum through Radion. And that means that both these drivers will still be side by side as they reach the Lecombe. But now it will be Björn de Vos on the inside sealing the deal. I don't think Derek Holland will be putting it side by side. No, he has to go back to the racing line. That means that the distance between them is 1.1 seconds. Now, Björn de Vos has to work very hard this lap, especially in the infield section, Bill, to close down that gap to the draft position and make sure that he doesn't lose it.
See those guys battling for what would be 4th, 5th, and 6th. In 7th position is Michael Warpman, the amateur driver. He was the only driver to pick up an incident point or a penalty point from the last round. He got a minor penalty for a mistake that he accepted. He understood what he did wrong. Don't think that's going to be the case today. I think there's going to be a few penalties handed out. I just have a gut feeling on this.
I think that Michael Warman will be reasonably happy. Maybe not so happy with the race as he's driving a little bit in no man's land, but the result is quite nicely to come home with a P7 in the end. Now let's go back to the battle for the lead in the M Championship. Clifford Eben is still leading that one in front of Björn de Vos. The gap between them is around a second, so it didn't increase in the infield section. Now Björn de Vos and Derek Holland, to be honest as well, have to keep working together to not lose the draft to Clifford Eben. To reach towards Blanchimont, you can just see that Derek Holland this time around stays behind. I think that he has to stay behind now, and he does so through Blanchimont. So that will help Björn de Vos to just stay in the draft, chew down that deficit several tenths at a time. You can see it's now 5 tenths of a second, and that's more than enough for them to stay in the draft. It was Derek Holland braking a little bit late there, has to go over the curbstones to avoid Björn de Vos there. He managed to do so.
They are back in the mix now. If you're a fan of MX-5 racing, Clifford Eben has organized a series we're going to start covering on GSRC tomorrow. Something like the Big C MX-5 Championship. I might have kind of got that one wrong slightly, but you get the idea. Check on in on that one. It'll be fun. Fixed setups.
Now let's go to the overall lead for a moment, to Dalmasas Torres and Stefan van Opsel, because I think there's an overtake in the mix at the moment as Dalmasas Torres gets very close over Camel Straight. What a weird move there, trying to sell the dummy to Van Opsel that he was going to the inside. On the last moment he decided to go to the outside, and that is the first lead change that we have seen since the pit stops. So it's the Spaniard back to the lead with 2 laps to go.
And you never really know if Van Opsel was upset by that or kind of wants to be in second right now anyway. Johan, you have raced a ton in these. Oh, we'll look at this battle. Hey, we'll come back to it in a minute. Let's follow up on this battle for third.
Clifford Eben,
yeah.
He was so close to spinning Derek Holland there. Not really the fault of Clifford Eben, just the way both cars went into Lecombe corner there, but almost contact between the two of them, and that would have been disastrous. Derek Holland got a little bump there in the middle of no-name corner and just launched himself towards Björn de Vos doing that. This is really exciting racing. You can see now, Bill, that for these drivers, all bets are off with 1.5 lap to go. They know that now is the time that they have to make moves forward in this pack.
So be getting the white flag coming around this time. All right, I'm going to touch on you, boy. No, I'm not. We're going to cover the action. I want to get your opinion in a minute, but this is just too exciting to break away from it right now. Ursum watching on, trying to get to 5th position. Evan now back up into 4th, racing behind DeForce. And Holland down. Now they go single file. Okay, quickly, Johan. Let's go talk up front for a minute. Where do you want to be on the last lap? Do you want to be 1st or 2nd?
Oh, that's extremely difficult, but that really depends on the drivers around you. I probably want to be P3 to give you a different answer than the one you were asking for. Because that way you get not the single draft, you get a double draft over Camel Straight. And that kind of will mean that you go into Lacoum as the leader. You need a good infield section after that though, because the rundown from Stavelo to the bus stop chicane, like we see here, will be very, very difficult. But it is easier to defend here than over Camel Straight, so I would like to lead in the infield section of the circuit.
Leaders get the white flag lap. We will jump you around a lot on this final lap as we try to cover both battles. Both the battle for the win and the battle to see who gets 3rd and maybe who's going to get their first top 5 in a long MWT career. Right now, it's Taurus in front of Van Ostrel as they head to Eau Rouge. Honestly, I don't think anything matters on this lap until we're getting to the bus stop.
Very interesting to see different racing lines from both drivers here. Stefan van Opstel on purpose did not want to be in the draft of Jaume Damas Torres there before they reached Eau Rouge. Why? Because if he was in the draft, he would already reach the rear of Damas Torres in the middle of Eau Rouge and Gradillon, so he would have to back out. Now he could launch himself without having to brake, and as you can see on screen, actually finish the overtake before Lacoum. So smart driving from Van Opstel, who goes as the lead car into the infield section.
Right now, he'll be in control of which racing line he takes. Meanwhile, back behind, Ursum making a move.
Well, look at that. It's Clifford Eben in the inside, giving a little bump draft to Björn de Vos, but it's Jeroen Ursum on the outside, braking slightly later than Björn de Vos. Clifford Eben, a lot of speed on the apex. Again, very close between him and Jeroen Ursum, and Derek Holland tries to change racing lines there. He goes to the rear of Clifford Eben and tries to get a position away from Jeroen Ursum. I thought Jeroen Ursum would maybe go to the lead of that pack, but he just completely gets bogged down on the outside, has to slot back to P4.
The leaders race in the same order as they go through Puhan now. It is Van Ostrel ahead of Torres. Torres is back about a car length waiting. In that battle for 3rd, DeForce, Eben, Holland, and Ursum. We'll come back and look at that one as they head towards the bus stop. I think there's far enough separated we're going to be able to cover both battles when it gets exciting.
Yeah, because Damas Torres and Stefan van Opstel are now coming out of Stavelo. And now Damas Torres will start his rundown to try and stay in the draft of Van Opstel, sling by him and get that win here at Spa.
Let's see what racing line Van Opstel takes. He moves to the right. Is this pass made too early? Torres gets it. Will Van Ostrel come back at him? He'll have time if he wants. They can be side by side into the bus stop. Let's see what line Torres takes. He's going to protect the right side. He's going to look for the momentum coming out of the bus stop. Now he eases over. There it is, side by side. One more time through the bus stop. Torres with the advantage. He's going to be able to get to the apex. I think he's going to be okay. Going a little bit wide is Van Ostrel, but it's going to be the Spaniard. Jaume Torres getting the win for round number 6. Let's go back to the battle for 3rd, Johan.
Clifford Eben is leading in front of Björn de Vos. Jeroen Ursum on the outside is trying to make moves on Derek Holland. Is Björn de Vos completely missing the corner. He loses a position to Derek Holland, who gets by him for P2. But it's winning in the Amateur Championship. Clifford Eben all the way from the back. He gets P3 overall in front of Derek Holland. Björn de Vos and Jeroen Ursum comes home P6 overall.
Ursum trying so hard for that first top 5, does not get it. Michael Wortman comes across in 6. I believe the last 2 cars on your lead lap going to be Jean-Marie Forgoux and Sonny Kenchen. After starting outside of row 1, make a mistake on lap number 1, is going to get a 9th position about in the middle of the field. A pretty good points day considering. All right, the racing is over here in Belgium, but the broadcast is far from done. We'll take a short break. We'll come back, run down the entire finishing order, talk to some of the drivers before we put a lock on the gate. Don't go far. You're watching GSRC on IESN. This is the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of the MX-5 World Tour round number 6 from Spa, streaming your way on the iRacing Esports Network. The racing is over. Let's give you the final standings. He's got 2 wins already. He picks up the 3rd one and will close the gap towards the points leader, Sonny Ketchen, if not overtaking. We're talking about Jaume Torres. He was able to outduel Stefan van Ofstel for 2nd position. Stefan was quick but could not get the win. Then we got to the battle that was really exciting for 3rd and the top 5. Clifford Evan gets the best of that group. Derek Holland gets 4th, picking up a top 5. We'll have to see if that's his first one ever. Bjorn de Porsche comes home in 5th. Jeroen Ursum in his 100th race tried to get his first top 5, missed by 1 position. He'll settle for 6th. Michael Wortman is 7th. 2 more cars that actually finished, and then I'm going to turn it over to Johan for the guys that were well down. Jean-Marie Fergou in 8th and Sonny Ketchen in 9th. Then, Johan, you get all the guys that ran into trouble.
Yeah, I have the drivers that probably have a heavy mechanic bill to pay off the Spa-Francorchamps, starting with Nicolas Berger, who's 6 laps down. Still classified in the top 10, however. Behind him, Maurice Wartz finishes the race in P11. Jean-François Penoy was involved in a heavy accident with him. He's classified in P12. Christophe Sanchez was one of the drivers who had contact in the Lecum hairpin. He's classified in P13. Robert Willigas saw his race end earlier after braking on the grass on the rundown towards the La Source hairpin. 13 laps down in P14, and Gianni Quintaillet starting on pole position. His first pole position ever, saw his race end very early. He's classified in P15.
All right, I have the honor of talking to the longtime series organizer. We're going to bring in Jeroen Ursum here to open up with. Jeroen, we're going to start with you because you were so close to getting that top 5.
Yeah, that was very close to the top 5. What a great way to celebrate my 100th race. There was a great race between Bjorn, Derek, and Clifford. It was all the respect all the way. I practiced my final lap move earlier in the race. I made it stick there, but I didn't in the last lap, unfortunately.
We saw it early on where you went from I think you got all 3 of them one shot there.
Yeah.
We were a little bit worried when you fell back.
Yeah, I fell back about 2 or 3 times this race, but as long as you stay within about 2 seconds, then if you put your head down, you can make it, and I did twice, so perfect.
I sent out a little shout out to Triff Smith and Joe McDonald, who are notorious for racing with you. They missed the fun today, didn't they?
Yeah, they had top 10s for sure with this race, and beating Sonny in the process is also a nice thing. I overtook him on the lap, on track.
I said the words on the broadcast, man.
Oh, man, I'm so proud.
You can get a clip of that audio and save it as a soundbite for you. Hey, congratulations for putting on a good show.
Yeah, thank you. Great. Thanks for the good broadcast, guys.
Jeroen Ursum, the happiest 6th place driver you'll ever see. All right, Johan, who are you going to talk to?
I'm going to talk with Stefan van Opstal. He is our P2 finisher today. Stefan, welcome to the booth. You started in P4, you came across Radion, onto Camel Straight, and it was very biblical. Everything just opened up in front of you. I don't hear Stefan at the moment. Let's see if he can get his mic working. Well, let's go back to Stefan a little bit later. In the meantime, we can maybe talk with Clifford Eben, who of course is a very deserved winner here today in the M category, P3 overall. Clifford, welcome to the booth. You started the race in P15 after not setting a qualifying time, but you really recovered from that, and you actually won the race in the amateur category. That must feel amazing, a recovery race like this.
Oh, yeah, it feels pretty nice. I knew that I had to be really aggressive at the start because I was at the back, and I was lucky enough to make some nice passes and just barely latch on to the draft from the lead pack. But unfortunately, the contact between Jean-François and Christophe kind of split the lead pack, and after that, the top 3 kind of set sail, and then the rest of the amateurs kind of caught up, and we had a nice, fun race, as you guys saw, for the pretty much entirety from there on. So it was a lot of fun.
Now you, Derek, Björn, Jeroen, you were involved in an amazing fight for basically the whole race. It was the thing that we had the cameras on for the biggest part of the race. Now, what was your mentality in that fight? Was your mentality just staying out in front because that's where less trouble happens? Was your strategy just letting them pass if they're too aggressive? How did you approach that battle?
Well, at first I was a little bit close on fuel, so I did come out of the pits ahead of Bjorn, but once he got up to me, I just let him have it without fighting with him. And we all kind of shuffled around a little bit. I didn't really care too much until the lap started to wind down, and then I wanted to be in second in the amateur category on the last lap so I could set up a pass at the end. So I waited behind Bjorn and was able to just slingshot by him right at the end. But a really nice race.
Very good. Well, congratulations at least with getting victory here at Spa-Francorchamps in the M category and a podium overall. That's not a bad result. Enjoy the champagne.
Thank you.
That was Clifford Ebben. In the meantime, let's go back to Stefan van Opstal. Let's see if...
Hello.
We got you.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Hey,
Stefan,
guys.
Let's hand you over to Bill as Bill talks to you.
Stefan, congratulations. So close to picking up that first win.
Yeah, very happy to be second place, but sadly I would have hoped for a win, but I'm happy.
It was a large train going into the first couple laps, and then it got thin quickly. Were you close to that? Did you see the contact between Kanchan and Quintelier? Was that ahead of you when that happened on lap 1?
Yeah, it happened clearly in front of me. If it was close, I would have wasn't able to avoid it, but it was clearly in front of me. Could have taken a fast line and immediately, on the front train.
All right, I want to go right to the last lap. Were you where you wanted to be? How did that play?
No, I just went pretty much without any tactics. I had the speed on the fast lane, and I just went past him, and I knew he would pass me on the last straight, but I'm not any tactical guy on that kind of racing. So, but I'm pretty happy. Maybe next time, someday.
You put on a good show, and you brought the car home clean, which is saying a lot compared to this one was kind of messy today. So, congratulations on maybe your best finish in the series ever.
Yeah, we had a good practice in the last weeks. Yesterday, I did the series. So I had a pretty good idea about the fuel, so it was relaxed racing. Yeah, that's enough practice, and then you are comfortable in the race, and then you can put on a good performance. I hope to do it again next time.
Former amateur champion, congratulations that you almost pick up a win in the pro class. Good luck to you down the road.
Thanks, guys, and love the work you're doing up there. Keep the good work going on. See you next time.
There you go. My partner's pretty good, too. That's Johan. He works okay. All right, that's going to wrap it up for us. Let's go ahead and let the people give some thanks to the people who make this possible. We'd like to thank everybody at the Quality Racing Sim-dicate for organizing the series and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. And, of course, the sponsors. That would be Sim Sports News and Hoisingfeld. On screen now are just some of the equipment and software used to stream cyberspace into your place. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen to how to get a hold of their great work. The MX-5 World Tour returns next week for round 7 from Laguna Seca. GSRC via ISN will be there to bring you all the action. We hope you join us. Next on ISN, well, that's going to be GSRC's coverage of the Batteries Not Included Championship. That's Williams FW31s at Suzuka. Coverage begins Sunday, April 7th, 10 a.m. Eastern. Sliding across your screen now are some of the upcoming GSRC broadcasts, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. If you'd like more information about us, GlobalSimRacingChannel.com, Twitter, GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, Instagram at GSRC_Gram. And if you haven't done so yet, become a YouTube subscriber by heading over to our YouTube page and hitting that big red button. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, Johan, Joe, and Dougie, I'd like to thank all of you for watching as Jaume Torres picks up the 3rd win of his career and this season, getting it here round 6 at Spa. With that said, we're off to have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.